everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Raffles Talk, Igniting Hot Seats. Today we have a very special guest, GianMauro Vella, and I'm very excited to have you here.
You can call me Jimmy.
Jimmy?
It's faster, yeah.
Hi, Jimmy. We're so glad to have you here. Do you maybe want to say a few words as well?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I'm extremely excited to spend the next few minutes with you guys. My name is GianMauro Vella. I go by Jimmy. I'm Italian, as you might can tell from the accent. I lead the design for PepsiCo in Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. Currently based in Dubai. Been spending the last 14 years living in China, and I'm now overseeing team between China, Thailand, India, Egypt, Cairo, Cape Town, South Africa, and Australia.
Very nice. I think we can start with the first question.
Sure.
Are you ready?
But in a world where AI makes everything luxury is about exclusivity. But in a world where AI makes everything accessible, does luxury even exist anymore?
Was that him?
Yes.
Well, I think there is obviously multiple definitions that we can give to the concept of luxury. Now, I'm obviously coming from an FMCG world, so it's a fast-moving consumer goods world where the term luxury it's something that we don't necessarily get used to. We might refer to concepts like premium or premiumization, but obviously we live in a world where everything is interconnected. So although this is not necessarily part of what we do, we obviously interact with this idea of luxury. I think luxury is not really about access. It's not something that need to scare and let people to feel separated from it. It's more about the meaning that you have in the concept of luxury, and I think the idea and again we will talk more about later of AI in the way how the world is positioning AI is something that might need to be reconsidered, because I think we are all try to create this dichotomy and this sort of like fight between what happened before AI and what will happen now that the AI is coming, that I think is not necessarily the right way to see AI. So we need to get friend with, what was the name?
You can choose the name.
No, tell me the name.
Yesterday we said Bobby. So
okay, well, I go with Franco, but but yeah. So I think again, it would be a very nice conversation to have here today to talk about AI and again luxury, premiumization, and so on. So yeah.
Yeah. So you think that it's important to include AI rather than talk about the bad effects of AI? Maybe AI as a tool.
I think we shouldn't even mention AI.
Okay.
I think we are giving too much emphasis on something that is just a tool. I think if you are a designer, you basically evolve from drawing with your hands, and then you have a computer software. And again, if you work in branding, one of the biggest revolution that we have in the design industry is when a few years ago the mock-up world started to arise, where back in my days, whenever you want to do a rendering of a bottle, you basically open a 3D software, you create a 3D rendering, you create a 3D file, you create the rendering, and then you decide all the lighting and everything. And then all of a sudden, mock-up start to arise. And now everybody are able to take whatever graphic you have, you literally drag and drop inside of a label, and then magically you have a beautiful photo. But nobody were referring to the mock-up generation or the mock-up word, and now we are putting a lot of emphasis on AI, that it's clearly something that is going to stay and is going to change the way how we work and the way how we live, but I wouldn't put that much of a negative emphasis on AI. So again, I think AI is a beautiful tool that is helping all of us in different form, from ChatGPT to write a better email in English or Italian, to obviously accelerate a brainstorm session where you can utilize AI as a source of a prototypization for an idea. No? If you think about the concept of design and design thinking, you have creativity, you have empathy, you have strategy, and then you have prototyping. So if the AI is able to accelerate the prototyping phase where everybody can look at something and get aligned, why not? So again, I don't necessarily, I'm not a fan of those that are really positioning AI as a threat. I actually want to see AI as a tool that will just implement everything we do.
Yeah. I think from the talks we previously had, so yesterday and the day before, all of the things, or the conclusion always was that everyone can see AI being more a tool rather than something like that. But using AI as a tool, how do you use it within your company or you yourself?
Well, again, when the first attempt of image creator with Midjourney a couple of 1 year ago, arise, I was extremely fascinated, and I was fascinated because it gave me tool of in doing things that before I wasn't able. As we were discussing before, I have many passion, and again, one of those is, as we discussed, is photography. But another passion I have is storytelling. Okay, so when the first Midjourney that was really commercially usable from everybody come in my hand, I basically create a book. And I create a book where I utilize Midjourney to visualize characters of the story, and then with the ChatGPT I implement the overall narrative of the story. So I personally utilize for passion project. That is obviously something that has nothing to do with my day-to-day job. In the work environment, we are utilizing obviously to correct the email or to write in a way that is more concise, because as Italian, you tend to be very long, very lengthy in the way how you are trying to explain a very simple concept, and sometimes being concise is obviously more effective. So utilizing ChatGPT and everything that can allow you to really get to the point in a much more straightforward way. But in the creative side, we are actually utilizing AI in many ways, from a brainstorming session. So whenever we need to create from a branding of a packaging design or a space design, it's a very beautiful tool that allow you to accelerate the exchange of idea and point of view, as well as right now we are also implementing in final product. So for instance, in one of our brand is a Poca brand, is an entry-level snacks brand in Southeast Asia. We are actually utilizing AI to create character that goes on the label, and then obviously become commercial. Obviously, there is a huge amount of effort. We have a strategic partnership with Adobe Firefly, so everything that is from the legal perspective is obviously being taken care of. But again, it's a beautiful tool that can only implement everything we do. And if you're looking at AI, if you're looking at the 3D printing, if you're looking at the ability to create instant prototype of new business model and so on, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's something we can all agree on. And while you were talking about storytelling, maybe we can move on to the next question.
Storytelling is key to brand loyalty, but in an age of TikTok and 3-second attention spans, is long-term storytelling dead?
No, I mean, I think storytelling is not dead, but obviously is fragmented. It's fragmented in terms of space, both digital and physical. Is fragmented in terms of culture, because a story that is very compelling in Italy doesn't really resonate with people in China, and is obviously fragmented also in terms of platform, because platform like, for instance, TikTok, it's very famous in here, but then when you are in other country, got either banned or they might have their own version. So I think storytelling is not dead. I think storytelling is definitely what keeps us alive. I'm a strong believer in the storytelling, and that's why, to me, AI could be a tool to really implement the way how we can all tell a story. And then obviously storytelling need to seek its own manifestation across every single touch point. It can be a story that you can have with the technical ripple that you need in the bottle, because otherwise, structurally speaking, it's too weak. You can create a beautiful story on the way how this screw is being assembled, and so on. So it's more about the way how you're able to tell a story. I think you need to have, first of all, a clear point of view on who you are, in this case, as a brand. And then understand the context. So understand who are you talking to. Am I talking to people in Italy? Am I talking to people in China? Am I talking to people in Saudi Arabia? Understanding what are the platforms that are relevant for those people, and then simply tailor-made every single part of your story based on those principles. I think one of the biggest problems that sometimes happen out there is that people, in order to be faster or to simplify things, they try to copy and paste, and it doesn't work.
No.
And you need to be as authentic as possible. You need to, and again, we go back to the principle of what design and design thinking is, right? The first and the most important thing is about empathy, and is your ability to understand the people that are in front of you. If you don't understand those in front of you, and if you are trying to impose your belief from your past in whatever context you are try to operate, you will never be successful.
Right.
So no, it's not that.
Yeah.
Back to
But
Franco's question.
Staying within storytelling, with your Italian heritage, how do you feel that you access the Asian market? Is it different to the European market in storytelling or other aspects?
Yeah, of course, it's very different. As I mentioned before, I'm currently based in Dubai, but I spent 14 years of my life in China, in Shanghai, and I always make this as a very simple analogy for people to understand why I really believe Italians are among the best humans in the world. Because, well, I need to self-celebrate ourselves. If you take an Italian person and you literally project into a context like China, okay, People's Square, one of the main square that you can have in Shanghai, and obviously there is a barrier of entry in communicating with the local, because I believe it's presumable that you might don't know as Italian Chinese as a language. So if an Italian try to communicate with the Chinese, the first things that we do is we try to speak in English, and the Chinese obviously doesn't understand. And then the second step is we might try to speak a slower English or try to communicate and so on, and obviously the person doesn't understand. And then we have this ability that it's part of who we are in our DNA, that is part of what we call l'arte dell'arrangiarsi, that we basically start to talk with gesture and we start to communicate, and in a way or in another we basically manage to get to what we want, even if it's not by utilizing the usual communication language as a main tool. There are people eventually from other nationality that they don't necessarily have this type of the inner behavior, that they might speak English, they might slow down the way how they speak, but they don't necessarily know how to break that barrier. So to your point, it's clear that when you approach yourself into a completely different country, the first things you need to do is to be respectful for that country. You really need to observe as much as you can and try to understand what are the cultural nuances that sit behind everything that you have in there. And then obviously, based on your job and so on, you will start to decode what are all the code of that country. Code that can be from a very simple things like the semiotic code, and for semiotic we are referring to the ability to really read the sign, right? If you drive a car and there is a green light, you know that you can go. If it's a red light, you know that you need to stop. And this is pretty much everywhere in the world. But when you're talking about like branding, if you take about, for instance, the color white, white is a color that if you apply in a context like China, sometimes is associated to the funerary color, while for us it's black. So it's important that you understand the context. It's important that you understand those that live in that context. And then it's just a matter of adapting, and again, you might don't even like it, and then you decide to leave. But if you decide to stay, you need to be respectful for those that are hosting you.
Yeah, no, of course. I think it's time to move on to the next question.
If you had to make a luxury brand accessible to Gen Z without losing exclusivity, how would you do it?
I wouldn't. Again, I think one of the beautiful things about again, back to China, is that everything is possible.
Yeah.
And I can easily bet that whoever spent between 2 to 5 years in China, sooner or later try to create his own brand. And not necessarily coming from the industry that the person is actually belonging. Like back in the days with friends, we decided to create an ice cream company. Okay, that has nothing to do with packaged goods and so on. And the reason is because the environment stimulates creativity, and the environment stimulates this entrepreneurial opportunity that everything is possible. You have easy access to manufacture, everything is affordable, everything is fast, so you don't have those lengthy period of time where you need to wait for things to happen. So it's clear that as the question is referred to Gen Z, what would I do? I mean, the first is I need to understand who Gen Z are. Again, I think that's always the first and the most important question, like who am I designing for? And the Gen Z here, it's very different from the Gen Z in Dubai or the Gen Z in Saudi Arabia. So the first is understanding who you are designing for. And back to the first question, AI nowadays can help you to really dissect as many information as possible for you to really get to the core. Then I personally love point of view, meaning that there are brands that they might want to play safe and they like to try to please everybody without necessarily a point of view. I was actually talking with one of your friends before. It's like, I'm here since a week, and I was yesterday driving from Florence, my hometown, to Milan, and in the highway, all the cars look the same. I mean, I'm out of Italy for 1 year, and it's surprising to see that all the cars literally look the same. If you remove the badge logo of this brand versus that brand, nowadays the similarity that you have among those models, it's actually very close. Yeah. And this is something that back in the day didn't really happen, because each car manufacturer has its own DNA, and it was very distinctive in the way how it looked in this way versus that way. So if I want to design a brand for today Gen Z, first is I understand who they are, what they love, what they like, what they don't, what are the brand that they like, what are the things that they love to do. So it's not about, imagine I want to, design a microphone for the Gen Z. I first need to understand what are the Gen Z need the microphone for. Then understand what they do in their life. So it's not just about how many microphones they have or they experience in the past, but it's really about understanding the whole life. And then obviously if you have a point of view, then you go into one direction, you create a story, you create a narrative, and then back to the previous question, you understand what are the platforms that the Gen Z consume. Because if they consume TikTok, maybe I decided I want to build a strategy, a communication strategy that sees in TikTok my main anchor point, and I'm not looking at other platforms like, for instance, YouTube and so on. So it's really about understanding who your target is and who you are. And again, back to the previous point, empathy, understanding consumer strategy, understanding what the company needs. Yeah. So if I'm a company, what is my need? Do I want to, in the first X month, achieve a certain amount of reach in terms of social media engagement, or is it about revenue? So understanding what you want, and again, ChatGPT can help you and create a business model, but understanding who your consumer, understanding what are your goal, define a timeline and stick to that. Because at the end of the day, one of the most important things that I believe are necessary for the brand to be successful is consistency. We tend to give up very soon. If things doesn't work, okay, let's change, go next. If it doesn't work, let's change, go next. And if you don't stick to what you believe, consumer will never believe you. Yeah. And the reality is that consumer believe in what you believe. And if you are the first that you don't believe in it, then what are we talking about?
Yeah, no. I think this is also talking a lot about authenticity, because as you were saying about the cars, yesterday I was also at the Audi exhibition, and it's so funny because the cars from the side, it looks like VW, but there's like no point where it differentiates. What is your view on authenticity? Because you were talking a lot about target groups, and in the end, everyone's trying to reach Gen Z or younger audiences. How do you stay true to yourself when also trying to reach new audiences?
I mean, change is scary.
Yeah.
And I think as a humankind, we are very reluctant to change because nobody like to be uncomfortable. Everybody want to be comfortable. And that's why I think one of the biggest virtue that we have as a designer is our ability to be comfortable while being uncomfortable. And this is given by the fact that whenever we receive a brief, we have no idea what is going to be the outcome, but we don't freak out. We actually enjoy the process that bring us from that piece of paper with a few words that might not even make much of a sense as a brief to a final product. So I think, again, change is scary. And back to the automotive industry, and I'm very ignorant on that thematic, so please don't go too much into detail in terms of car spec and so on. But it was fascinating when a few months ago Jaguar presented a rebrand, and it was intentionally different, and they meant to provoke the automotive industry and the masses, and everybody freaked out. Now, again, I'm obviously not aware about their marketing strategy. I'm not aware about their business strategy. I'm not aware about their business performance. I'm just reacting to the way how people took that attempt to provoke and create something new in a way of being scared. Yeah. So, again, I think it's a matter of bravery. I think if you are brave enough, if you believe in what you're doing, if you are, as I mentioned before, consistent, then you try. And if it's work. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you try.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we, as a designer, in the time of AI, we shouldn't forget who we are. Because to me, the only things that I'm afraid about AI, it's not what AI is going to do against us. It's the fact that people might start to get lazy. And they don't start to question, and they don't start to be curious as they were. They don't start to put the effort, but they simply create this copy and paste. Franco, nothing against you. They create this copy and paste word where then ultimately you don't have any more those stimulus of provocation and an idea and point of view that allows us to be where we are right now.
Yeah, exactly. Always important. So, yeah, I think we can move on to the ultimately last question.
Imagine a world where AI predicts every customer's desire before they even realize it. Is that the future of luxury or the death of personalization?
I mean, if they can predict whether AC Milan is going to win something, that would be great. Again, I think AI will inevitably help us. Now, I don't know at what level of prediction they can really predict things to happen. And I don't know whether this is something that I would love or not to experience. But what I think is that the way how I believe we should look at the future is not about fear AI, is not about stop doing because AI is gonna tell us everything, gonna predict us what we're gonna do, where we're gonna go, and so on. But it's more about living, it's more about provoking, it's more about building dialogue with people. I think we need to get closer. I love the idea of AI creating a superhuman, not AI is a super machine. I think when people say AI is going to impact our life, they are looking at what will AI replace in what we do right now. But nobody's talking about, now I have more free time, what can I do? So again, I would love if the AI can predict what is going to be my week for work and what type of meeting I will have and so on, and how things are going to go. I would love also the AI to suggest me, okay, how can I invest my new free time? Because at the end of the day, that I think is where AI can really be helpful. Like Do I have more time to spend with my friends and loved one? Do I have more time to go to the gym? Do I have more time to visit exhibition? That's the things that I think could be extremely interesting. Is how AI can make me a better person, how AI can improve my life, how AI can make me a superman, like a superhuman. But the prediction per se, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's not a big of a problem or a deal.
Right. But I think what also is an important conversation to have is when we're talking about AI, we need to talk about sustainability as well. How do you approach sustainability as a big brand?
I love that you close your question with the word brand. I think sustainability over the course of the past few years is in some degree has been branded as a movement. And it's the same thing that is happening with the AI. I think we are branding AI in a way that, as I mentioned until now, can be revised. I think sustainability has been branded in a way that was not necessarily consistent. It started with a nice to have, then a must have, and then based on the country, have a completely different trajectory and a completely different understanding. I think I love the idea of looking at sustainability as a new craft. I love the idea of looking at sustainability as something that it's good for you, it's good for the environment, it's obviously good for everyone, but the question is, should sustainability be branded? To me, sustainability should be at the core of everything we do.
Yes.
Choosing better materials, so fewer more than mass production, utilizing our intellect to save cost in production. How can we reutilize the water that you utilize for the production in a way that then can be self-generating the manufacture? So it's a very wide spectrum, the word of sustainability, because it's something that every company, each one of us can contribute. But to me, it shouldn't be branded. To me, it should be at the core of what we do. There is no, you shouldn't even add at the end of the brief, and by the way, make it sustainable. Like, to me, it should be already,
there anyway.
it should be already encapsulated in every single word and every single mind of those that write and then receive the brief. So I love the idea of sustainability as a new craft. I love the idea of looking at sustainability as a normal way of doing things. And again, AI can potentially help also in that, because it can help you to understand how you can optimize the manufacture, how you can optimize, for instance, the thickness of that chair that obviously has been calculated from design engineering and so on, but it would be interesting to understand if we ask AI to scan our world, what are the things that could have been redesigned in a more sustainable way, or what are the things that we can improve. So I love the idea of sustainability as I say, as a craft and as something that is part of everything we do.
Yeah, but on sustainability as a non-negotiable, how do you practice sustainability within PepsiCo?
Well, there are tons of area where we are trying to really tackle this matter. There are from a manufacturing, the production of what we do, that I'm not gonna tedious you with a long list of activities that we do. I think you can ask ChatGPT and they will tell you all the answer. I think from a design perspective, we did multiple design intervention that improve the overall sustainability aspect of what we do, from designing a PET bottle that are actually utilizing less material. So how can you utilize, in this case, as I mentioned before, these are structural ribs. So those ribs help you to prevent the bottle to get destroyed during the production, the filling, and so on. Those ribs, until yesterday, they were designed with just a functional point of view.
Yeah.
What if this functional can become also an element of design and beauty, and potentially part of your brand asset? So can you design a rib that is in some degree leveraging your brand story, So it's both functional, but at the same time also aesthetically pleasant and relevant to the brand. We design a bottle that actually do not have the sleeves, so they do not have the brand, and everything has been embossed on the bottle. So actually, by doing that, obviously you save a lot of material, and you are impacting positively the world. We are obviously utilizing sustainable material for our potato chips bag, as well as other products in our portfolio. Digital is a way how you in some degree impact sustainability. If you are utilizing the digital world to communicate your brand rather than print ad, is again is a small type of intervention. So there are many ways, and the reality is that what we are doing in China is different from what we are doing in Egypt, is different from what we are doing in South Africa, is different from what we are doing in India, because the context is different. Right. But obviously, as a company, as all the other company out there, we see sustainability as one of our main priority for the future.
Very interesting. And I think on that positive note about sustainability, we can end our podcast. Thank you so much for being here and answering the Teddy questions. Thank you. Bye.